Now, I guess this is a hot topic, and it's one that is causing great divisions around the world.
Am I qualified to answer this? Because I'm going to get told stick to bodybuilding if I have an opinion.
Well, this is the whole point of this question, that we're not allowed to have opinions based on how we are defined, and the question is, do Black Lives Matter or all lives matter?
I don't think any lives matter. Everyone's a cunt.
And you know what?
When people say all lives matter, I always say no, they don't, because if you say all lives matter, you're saying all lives. So does that mean pedophiles, rapists, killers? Because you just said all lives, so you're including everyone. And black lives, you shouldn't put like any colour in front of it. Just say certain lives matter. Because if we say black lives, then it sounds like you're excluding everybody else. And I think that's what people don't like, when people say Black Lives Matter. It's almost like saying that matters more than anybody else. Maybe if they said Black Lives Matter too, then that would sound better. Black Lives Matter too, meaning like you're including yourself in with everyone else. Where if you just say Black Lives Matter, and then you see people in America say all lives matter and they get fucking shot. This all started again from Floyd, the whole kick-off. And since then, 19 people have been killed from the riot, so it's not really, helping. The group themselves just seem like anarchists and Marxists and all that sort of shit. They had a thing on, I was watching, they followed the money trail from all the donations, and the money doesn't go to where they say it's going. And if we are going to stick to Black Lives Matter, like people have said, last weekend in Chicago, 38 people were murdered, black people, by other black people were murdered. One of them was a 5-year-old girl shot in the head. So I understand if you want to say Black Lives Matter, so why aren't they protesting that sort of stuff? And here in Australia last week, people got mad because we have the Black Lives Matter here with the Aborigines. Up in the community in Northern Territory, the 5-year-old boy was raped by 5 Aboriginal men, or I think 4 or 5 Aboriginal men raped him, and there wasn't a word about it. So his life didn't matter. If you're going to be like stand up for black lives, you got to stand up for everybody, not just, hold on, this bad white cop beat up a black man, so Black Lives Matter now. It's like, and then the celebrities jumped on board, putting up the black square saying Black Lives Matter. Yeah. To me, it's like, look, racism's been going on. Some people like to keep it going on. The NAACP and some of these black groups like to keep it going on. But generally, I think 95% of people or more, are good people. They don't wake up racist. They don't think I'm going out today to be racist. Everyone's good. It's just that I think certain groups like to keep the divide going. Certain people in the community, and you look at Al Sharpton, there's a nut job that likes to keep it going because he's with some of the organisations that if racism wasn't a big thing anymore, they wouldn't be getting all these donations and money. They'd be out of a job. It's like Big Pharma wanting everyone to be fucking healthy. If Big Pharma did that, they'd be out of jobs because they wouldn't be able to sell their fucking drugs. So people like to keep racism going because it keeps them in work and shit like that, but majority of people are good. I don't think they're racist like they make out that everyone's out to get everyone, because I used to go on ride-alongs with police, and I couldn't tell you the amount of times I'd see black officers throwing black guys to the ground all the time. Nothing's ever said about it, but as soon as 2 white cops throw a black guy on the ground, camera, there it is on TV, beating them up and shit like that. And I told the story, I used to go see a guy down in South Central area. And like I said, we talk about the cars I've had. I had a lot of nice cars. I got pulled over 3 times going down there. And the cop will get out, he comes to my window, you look over your shoulder, the other cops stand there with a gun pointed at you because they're not sure who you are, if you're going to reach for something. So there's always one ready. And I was just wondering what I did wrong. He goes, you wonder why I pulled you over? I said, yeah, maybe I thought I was speeding. No, he goes, no, just doing a check because normally when we see a white guy down this part of town with a nice car, you're either down here selling drugs or buying drugs. So, it goes both ways. They say they get pulled over for no reason, but then a lot of the time there is a reason. If you're in jail this day and age, pretty much you've done something. In a long time ago, a lot of innocent people went to jail, but now with lawyers and lawsuits and shit like that, if you're in jail, you're pretty much there for a fucking reason. It's like I have friends that say, I hate the cops, the cops are assholes. I'm like, why? Because they did this and that. I'm like, were you breaking the law? Yeah, well, fuck, they're doing their job, aren't they? So you can't hate the cops for doing their fucking job. And then another time I was in this restaurant in Santa Monica. You got this whole Third Street promenade, lots of restaurants. I went in one night, Friday night, and I walked up and said, "Can I have a table for two?" And the lady goes, "Do you have a reservation like thing?" I said, "No." They go, "Well, sorry, Friday, Saturday nights are busy, you need to make a booking." I said, "That's fine, because as soon as you walk out of that restaurant, there's one next door, there's so many." So
didn't you do the "Don't you know who I am"?
No, but the guy behind me, saying nothing about him, happened to be black. I was just turning around to walk out, he said the same thing, and they said to him, "Sorry, so you need a reservation." He pulled out the race card. He said, "Of course I'm black, I can't eat here," and blah. I'm like, mate, they just told me the same thing. So, so I think some people
Did you have that tan on?
I should have said, "Oh, now I see it's because I'm fucking white." No, so I think, the race card gets thrown around a lot, and people like to use it, for their own advantages and stuff like that. But, the whole Black Lives Matter, like I said, if black people are being murdered by black people, you can look at the statistics online. That's the biggest killer of black people is other black on black. And there was another one, you can go on all the statistics, FBI and that, it goes through violent crimes, not murder, just violent crimes. And I think in America, 2018 to 2019, white on black violent crimes was 57,400 and something that white people attacked black people. Black people attacking white people was, I think it was like 547,000 violent crimes. So, and then they say, "Oh, it's systematic, the cops are out to kill us." No, you go through it again. Say it was like here in Australia, there was like 47 or something black deaths compared to 247 white in jail. And this was incarceration. When they say here in Australia, deaths in custody, nearly every death in custody was old age because they're in there for life, or just medical conditions. None of them were murdered and that sort of thing. And same as in America, when they say police deaths, I think there was something like 18 or even less than that killed by police, but yet there was triple the amount of white people. People go, "Oh yeah, well that's understandable. Of course there's going to be more white people because your white people's the bigger population."
Well, and when all this, if
you can't have an opinion too because we're not black.
No. I'll tell you the secret. The secret is when all this sort of stuff happens, and you start quoting statistics, and you'll.
I got told once it's white man statistics.
But so what I do, and he's really great. Well, you listen to. I've nearly listened to all his
Larry Elder.
Larry Elder.
Do you like Candace Owens? She's really good.
Thomas.
He's really good. But you watch them; they get called sellouts. Uncle Tom. She's got that movie. I'm going to watch it called Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Candace Owens is too. You watch her show. She'll actually try and get people from the opposite side in, just to have a nice discussion.
Yeah.
Did you see when she had that guy from Black Lives Matter in there?
No, I haven't.
And then they're getting into stuff about the LGBT, and she's like, "Well, can a man have a baby?" He's like, "Yes, sometimes." And she's like, "How can a man have a baby? A man can't have a baby. He's genetically not built to have a baby." But he's like, "Yeah, they can sometimes." No. She's like, "That might be a woman identifying as a man or something, but a man cannot have a baby and stuff." But because she knows her facts and statistics straight away, but she's a big believer in it too, about the breakdown of the families in America where they don't have fathers, and 75% of households don't have a father, or if the father's around, he's in jail and stuff. And I said they just get called sellouts, and you see a lot of people like them who have come from the shit areas and they've progressed and made good of themselves. Black people don't like it. It's almost like you're selling out, or you're talking white. Why? Because I'm talking nice, I'm speaking English properly or something. And then you got the other ones too where they want to go back to the slaves. We were slaves, we were this. And I've said before, slavery, nearly every race has been a slave. Even if you go back to one of the first...
I'll just stop you before you be racist, because a white man can't talk about
slaves.
Slavery.
But white people were slaves, so we can.
No, but what you do is, this is where you do. Have you listened to... I'm going to get his book. I started listening to his audio book, but it didn't do it justice. I wanted to make sure I got all the things. But Thomas Sowell's thing on slavery, if you read that, or even listen to it,
does he go through all the?
Oh man, you'll come away and you'll go, oh, actually, thank you to the British people for for smashing slave rings. Like they were out there attacking slave boats.
Even today, there's still slavery going on in some countries and stuff like that. But even when you look back to the slave traders, a lot of them were black people selling black people. One of the first black slave owners in America, I forget his name, but he was like a big coffee farmer, and he had black slaves. And it's like I said, it's always good to learn about your past, but don't live in it, as hard as that can be. It's like, look what happened to the Jewish people when they've moved on. I'm sure they haven't forgot about it. They still have their memories and think about what happened, but they're not going, oh, fucking Germans owe us this, Germans owe us that, give us money for this, you know, you killed our families, blah, blah, blah. But let's just say we go back, 100, 150 years in America, and there's slaves. And they're slaves, and this and that, some are treated bad, some got killed. I think one of them, they said over the whole slave time, there was about 3,500 killed as slaves. And they did a thing where you can look up the facts again. In 1 year in America, there's more black on black deaths than whatever slaves were killed. But then let's just say, okay, you're slaves, you're treated bad, things come around, we have a civil war, now you're free. And now the slaves are free, they travel around different parts of America, they have families and they grow up in America. Yes, there's still a lot of shit, white bubblers, black bubblers and shit, so there's still that bit of racism going on. But then slowly it progresses more, you have more families and things get better and better and better and better. You can get jobs now, you can go to school, you can marry white people, black people can marry whoever they want and blah, blah, blah. So now we're where we are today. So it's like, just think, if your ancestors, as bad as it was, didn't come as slaves, you today wouldn't have been born in America, in one of the greatest countries in the world, where you've got all these opportunities to do whatever you fucking want today. I said, the only thing holding you back now is you, your attitude and your way of thinking. If you keep thinking, poor me, I'm black, I was a family with slaves, you're going to go nowhere. What you should do is fucking buckle down, get a fucking education, do what you can, stop playing the victim, and honour your fucking ancestors who went through the hell of being a fucking slave to now you're living in the greatest country in the world where you can be whatever you want to be. Don't play the fucking victim. Go out and make something of yourself. Make them fucking proud, because you often think if they didn't come to America as slaves, just say they were left in Africa, wherever they were. They could have been killed in wars, they could have famine, disease.
The reason why they were slaves was because the African warlords were selling them either to plantation owners, were just like a one segment of the market. There was the Arabs used to take them up for.
I think some of the Arabs still do have slaves, like some of the Muslim countries and that.
Well, they used to take the women to be in the harems. They used to lop the nuts off the blokes so that they'd look after the harem. But because they couldn't
have sex or anything.
No, by the law of Islam, you're not allowed to chop nuts off. So they chop them off on the way up, but most of them would die. So therefore they became more expensive. So they actually were getting more of them to chop their nuts off and dying. So you had, okay, go to America, live, go to Middle East, get your nuts chopped off, or the African warlords were selling them to buy weapons so they could fight other Africans. So it was either go to America, go to get your nuts chopped off, or go to war.
So America is looking like the better place right now.
Well, look,
but the thing is, though, if you didn't get, they said, if your ancestors, great ancestors weren't slaves, just imagine growing up in those days back in Africa where there were warlords, there were tribal wars, there were famine, there was disease. You might not never have been born today. So instead of sitting there going, poor me, this was what happened, playing the victim, fucking learn about it, but move on with your life. You got to get to a point where I haven't been a slave owner, my parents weren't, my grandparents weren't, my great-great-grandparents weren't. You can't keep just blaming people for this happened to me, blah, 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 from back hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It's because you can't keep doing that, because no one around today has probably owned slaves or been, even if you were a descendant of someone that owned slaves, that doesn't make you a fucking person. Be like those people who say your fucking ancestors were a serial killer. Does that make you a serial killer and you're going around killing people? No, you can't be blamed for the sins of what other people have done. And that's the thing, that they keep bringing it up like it's just happening now. And I think too it's the perception, because say I'm in a gym, I've had a lot of people look at me, I'm like, look at that cunt looking at me. Just talking shit about me, I just know it. But then he'll come over and go, hi Lee, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I judged him on because he's just staring at me, he's talking shit. But then I watched the show, this guy who was on there, he was talking about how he's judged white people a lot because he was brought up to watch white people, son, they're out to get you. This whole mentality. And he started his own business, landscaping and that. And he said one day he was at a cash machine, and he's like, there's people in front of him, women and that, and these guys are just staring at him. He's like, oh, look at me, I'm the bad black guy, I'm going to go rob these women because they're at a cash machine, and everyone's like, this and that. And he goes, but out of those people there, the three guys that were looking at him, they came over to him, he's like, oh, here it goes. But they said, oh, aren't you such and such? I've seen your commercial. Aren't you the landscaper? I need some work done. So these three guys actually were looking at him because I think he's at him from the commercial, and he had his landscaping business, and they just wanted his business card, and he got work. But yet, when he saw him looking, his mind's, I'm at a cash machine, they think I'm going to rob these people. So it's just, so I'm sure some people have had shit happen to them where they automatically think that because they've been judged that way. But it's like, you see some black people go into a store and they say, if I go into a store, I get watched closely, they walk around watching me. Well, I'm thinking, well, just say you own a store, a little mum and pop store, you own a department store, and let's just say over a period of a year or two, let's just say 95 or 90% of your stealings or shoplifting is committed by black people.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to naturally watch them more. But look at these Asian shops we have here. I'm sure if 90% of the stuff that got stolen is by white people, as soon as a white person walks into the store, the Asians are going to be watching you a bit closer. That's just natural thing like that. So, yes, it's not nice to stereotype people, but it just happens that, if the vast majority of people do something wrong in your store, if it's like, say, young teenagers come in and young teenagers always shoplifting, of course you're going to watch young teenagers walk around your store. So, that's just society in the way it is type thing. So.
Well, one thing
you see a sexy girl in heels walking down where the prostitutes are, you're like, look at that slut prostitute. She might just be a girl going to work.
Yeah.
Of course, she's in that area.
Just ask her for a price list. But one thing I always find fascinating is, out of all the makeup of your body, like, don't you think it's a bit strange that we divide people based on their skin colour?
I think it's stupid. I remember.
Like, what about eye colour, or because then I've got blue eyes, so I'll be I could be a minority then.
Exactly, but the thing is too, when I lived in America, I never did it because it always had, even here we got now, Caucasian, African American, Mexican, or whatever. You had to tick a box. I always used to just draw a box and write human, and I'd tick it and give it to them. They'd be like, I'm like, well. Don't fill it out. It's like they want to categorise people. They say it's for this and that, but if you're so against it, just put down human. You don't need to have a statistic or shit like that. So who cares about your skin colour? I actually get called too because Kurt, who I met the first day I got to America, is like a brother to me. Kurt, he's a black guy, but I would just say Kurt's Kurt. People go, what's Kurt? I'm like, Kurt. And people are like, what colour is he? I'm like, black, but I don't see it. Then they tell me, well, you're racist if you don't see his colour. But I'm like, that's just Kurt, my friend. I don't say this is Kurt, my black friend. I see Kurt. Yes, if I go, oh, look, Kurt's skin's darker. Yes, I can see that, but it doesn't mean anything. It's like when I used to have that tattoo on my face. Everyone knew it was there, but when they look at me talking to me, it's almost like, okay, we know Lee's got the tattoo, but we don't really see it. It's not like, it's just something that's there that you don't pay attention to. So when I'd say Kurt's Kurt, well, what is he? I'm like, black, but I don't see that colour. I just see Kurt, my friend. I'm not like Kurt, my black friend. So, but even at the gym, when I was in America, I was there for 18 years, I'd say a lot more black people were racist because we'd be training in the gym. Black guys in the gym would yell out, what are you fucking doing, Kurt, you sellout, training with the white guy and stuff. And that would actually hurt him. He'd get upset by that. Like, why are they doing that? And talk to him like that. I'm like, just ignore him. But they would be like that. Why are you training with the fucking white guy for, you sellout? So, it's just crazy. It's like,
and why do they...
I judge people on how I find them. If they're nice to me, I'm nice to them. Whether they're Asian, Hispanic, black, whatever. Cunts come in all colours.
Yeah.
So if you're a cunt, you're a cunt. That's why people go, oh, you don't like me because I'm black. No, I don't like you because you're a cunt. Simple as that. I don't care what colour you are.
And why is someone that's half white and half black.
Identify as black.
Like, couldn't
Well,
it
I can
be
understand
caramel.
I can understand
Coffee?
if the person, Milano. I can understand if someone, if you're looking at them and you're going to judge by looks, if they look black, okay, you're black. But how many times you see here in Australia when they have these Aboriginal rallies and they interview people, I've seen people there pale with freckles and red hair. I got Aborigine blood in me and all this. It's like, if you're a certain percentage, I agree, but it's like, these ones, some of them are only like 5%, 6%, but yet they identify as black.
Yeah.
But yet you're whiter than me. How can you identify as black when you're whiter than me? It's just, so sadly it comes down to the benefits.
Yeah.
And what they get from the government. So that's not equality. If we're going to talk about equality, when you're getting more than thing, because last year 40 billion was spent, from taxpayers' dollars was spent on Aborigines, like their communities, health and that. But yet, even that what's her name, Jacinda Price, she was even on the radio the other day saying, "Where's this money going?" Because
you're not allowed to quote her.
Oh.
Because you're white. Anyone.
Well, this lady on the radio.
Anything that.
Well, she said she wants to know. She wants an inquiry because even when I was on live on my Instagram the other day, someone's like, "Oh, fuck off, Lee, 40 billion." I said, "Yeah, Aborigines are 3% of our population, but yet 40 billion a year goes to them." And they're like, "Bush." I quickly looked up. I only found 2017 to 2018, and it was 33.4 billion that year went to them. And even she's questioning, saying, "Where's the money going? The schoolings aren't getting better, the housings aren't getting better." So, who in the government departments or wherever this money's going to these groups? Well, when I was married to Jade, her 3 young kids were Aboriginal, and they were going to Rutherford Public School, and they had an Aborigine program there. The guy who rented the house off was Aboriginal. He had kids that went there. And the woman that was there ended up getting fired because the government was sending all this money to the school for Aboriginal programs for the kids, but it wasn't getting done. So she was off fucking scoffing the money away somewhere else. So if 40 billion's going to 3% of a population, it should be, things should be happening. Things should be getting done. That's almost more than gets spent on defence.
No, it's when you break it down per person, and where the money's going is the people that make the big noise about how
It'd be like someone that says, "We have Aboriginal affairs for schools." And it'd be like, "Okay, well, you probably get 50 million. They get 50 million. Oh, I've got running costs and wages and stuff, and then probably 500,000 from that 50 million goes to a program, and that's it."
Yeah. Well, I read the book by Warren Mundine, and it's an industry, and those people are. And it's tragic that you got those kids.
Can you quote Warren Mundine?
Those kids getting raped and whatever,
poverty,
and all that money's getting siphoned off. And
well, like I said, the money should be going into their health cares, their schools, their hospitals, and even the Aboriginal communities that they help them build up so they can be self-sufficient and stuff. But it's not. So even Jacinda was saying, someone needs to look into it, because they said if you had a company operating this way, making that much money, and then you got nothing to show for it, it's like, you'd be fired and the company would be...
No, and it's no one can discuss it.
But that's the thing, because as soon as you do discuss and bring it up, you're racist. Yeah. Why you bring it up? So it's like, it's crazy.